So I had a fairly normal childhood. My life revolved around my family. I have an older brother and a loving mother and an incredible dad. I had good grades, but I didn't have a lot of close friends, but that didn't really matter to me at the time. I was happy with where I was. I'd always attended church ever since I was born, but I never had a very serious relationship with God. I knew that He was there, and I believed in Him, and I had faith in Him, but it was never a true relationship. I began to develop a love for music and reading and writing, and they were my favorite things to do. Nothing significant really happened up until September of 2012. This is when I found out that my grandfather, my dad's dad, had lung cancer. The next few months were very stressful for all of my family, and it was a rough time to get through, but we tried to keep our hopes up, and we tried to do our best, and we prayed every day that he would get better. However, he didn't, and that December, 11 days before Christmas, he passed away. That month was probably one of the most difficult times that I've had to go through, not only because I had to go to the funeral and had to help around and do my best while I was still grieving, but also because it was testing my faith in God, because we had prayed so hard that he would get better, but he didn't. It was then that everything started to change. I ended up going to a different school, and then we ended up moving, not very far, but it was still a big change for me because it was the first time I had moved. My dad had to find a new job, and everything was changing very quickly. As time continued on, another change happened. My self-esteem took a huge drop, and I ended up completely hating myself. It got to the point where I didn't even want to look in the mirror, and I was constantly insulting myself and seeing things that were wrong with me. I became more introverted and turned to music and writing as a way of relief of all this emotional stuff that was starting to build. I found a community online of a lot of people who loved writing just like I did, and I instantly wanted to be a part of it. However, this was not all that it seemed, and I was suddenly thrown into a world of drama, betrayal, and heartbreak. This only made my self-esteem drop further, and I took to other methods of relief. Anxiety also became a big part of my life, and I started getting panic attacks. These panic attacks were something worse than I had ever felt before. It felt like I was actually drowning, and it was one of the worst feelings that I've ever experienced to this day. During all of this, I tried to include God in my life, but it was difficult because I wasn't sure if I could really trust Him, or if He was really even there for me. One night, however, was a turning point. I was having a panic attack, and I was sitting in my bed, crying. I began to pray, and it was more than just a prayer. It was begging God to do something, to make something better, to make this panic, this anxiety, everything that I was feeling to just go away. All of a sudden, this image popped into my mind. And it was first-person point of view, meaning that I was seeing it from my own eyes as if I was in the picture. I stood in front of the creator of the universe, crying my heart out and begging for him to save me. Without even a single word, he stepped forward and hugged me. It's extremely difficult to describe what that feeling was like and what that picture was like and what it was like to be a part of it. All of a sudden, I began to smile, and my tears became tears of joy. I continued to struggle for about a year until I saw a significant change in my life. I realized that I was willingly spending more time with my family and with others, and that I was smiling more than I normally did. I began to seek God more and more, and set Him as a priority above other things that I had previously found so important. This is where I am now in my testimony. I haven't played out the rest of my story, but I'm eager to see what else God has in store for me. I still struggle with my lack of self-esteem and the other things that came with it, and some days it pushes me down harder than I thought possible. Although some things have seemed to have gotten worse than they were before, I'm continuously progressing and getting better and growing closer in my relationship with God.